Part 5. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wu Nian. Chapter 41. Chen Mu looked at the escaping humpback whales and said, "Run away. How can you be faster than me?" His body changed and he turned into a swordfish. Of course, due to its ability to change, the swordfish is also extremely large. The body is huge, but the speed is not slow. In an instant, Chen Mu rushed to the humpback whale. A swordfish's fin comes into contact with a humpback whale. With one touch, the huge adult humpback whale, which was 15 meters tall, turned into golden light and sank into Chen Mu's body. Next one Chen Mu moved again. In the face of the completely crushing speed of the sailfish, none of these humpback whales can escape. 16 humpback whales all turned into golden light and were swallowed by Chen Mu. Receiving energy, the current evolution energy progress is 2%. Hearing this, Chen Mu's eyes lit up slightly. When Chen Mu devoured krill previously, the progress of his evolutionary energy was measured in 10,000ths. It can be seen that swallowing a group of whales is much faster than swallowing krill. After all, the amount of energy possessed by a group of 16 humpback whales is absolutely astronomical. I found a good way. Chen Mu smiled. Looking at it this way, it is not difficult to fill up the evolutionary progress. Chen Mu was thinking. Now Chen Mu is the largest mammal in the world. I don't know what it will become if it continues to evolve. Forget it, let's devour it first. Chen Mu's body turned into a blue whale. He made a sound again to communicate with other blue whales. Ask if there are any other whale pods nearby. A blue whale in the distance responded, "No." No, another blue whale responded. The third blue whale also responded, "No. I saw it a year ago." The fourth blue whale gave the answer. Chen Mu fell into silence. 1 year ago, it was already a year and a half ago. Although there are whales here, they are still very rare. Chen Mu's joy was suddenly diluted. It seemed that he had to eat krill honestly. Chen Mu was a little helpless, but there was nothing he could do. I can only go back to eating krill. In this way, while Chen Mu was eating Antarctic krill, he made a sound to communicate with other blue whales, asking if any whales were passing by. If there is, he rushes over to devour it. Time passes like this little by little. In the blink of an eye, another half year has passed. Chen Mu's figure is much larger than half a year ago. At this moment, he was 35 meters long. It is completely a super monster. Chen Mu looked at the patches of Antarctic krill in front of him. As usual, he opened his mouth and swallowed countless krill in his mouth. As usual, strain out the food and swallow. Suddenly, an almost unfamiliar voice sounded. The current evolution energy progress is 100%, start the next evolution. Hearing this voice, Chen Mu's eyes suddenly lit up. I can finally evolve. During this time, he was almost sick from being a blue whale, and he was almost sick from eating krill every day. Finally, I can finally evolve. Just when Chen Mu made a sigh of relief, golden light enveloped Chen Mu's entire body. Chen Mu's entire body was lifted up, transported directly out of the ocean, and landed on a piece of ice. The golden light dissipated. Chen Mu subconsciously raised his face and saw the blue sky. I'm not in the ocean this time. Indeed, the blue whale is the largest mammal in the world, but it cannot live without the ocean. The huge weight of the blue whale is largely supported by the buoyancy of the ocean. If the blue whale leaves the ocean and reaches land, its skeleton will not be able to support its huge body, and it will suffocate and die in a short time. Adult blue whales have no natural predators in the sea and are almost invincible, but they will die immediately when they land on shore. The largest mammals in the ocean naturally evolved as land creatures. Let's see what I've become. Chen Mu raised his hand. When he lifted it up, Chen Mu was stunned. These are wings. Chen Mu couldn't see his current appearance, so he changed it to his conscious vision. Through the perspective of his conscious vision, he finally saw the whole picture of himself. Within Chen Mu's conscious vision, a black and white creature stood on the snow-covered ground. This is an emperor penguin. Chen Mu was shocked to find that he had turned into an emperor penguin. Although it has indeed changed from the ocean to a land creature, how can it be the emperor penguin on the killer whales menu? Compared to being able to live in the sea, now we can finally live on land and sea, Chen Mu muttered. After taking stock of his body, he looked around. Looking at it like this, Chen Mu noticed that not far away, a large group of emperor penguins were gathering there. Very much. Chen Mu started to move. He held out his round belly made of white feathers, moved his short feet, and moved in the direction of the emperor penguin. This speed is simply too touching. In order to be faster, Chen Mu could only lie on the ground and use the protection of his feathers to slide on the ice towards the group of emperor penguins. As he moved, he looked around. Chen Mu has the ability to change. As long as there is water, Chen Mu can transform into a great white shark to hunt. Using great white sharks to hunt is much faster than the hunting speed of emperor penguins. But Chen Mu looked around and found that he was surprised. Through his conscious vision that covered a kilometer range, he could not see the sea. He found that he was actually on land, a long distance away from the sea. Chen Mu was a little stunned. While Chen Mu was a little confused, he had already arrived at the gathering place of emperor penguins. He stood up and looked around subconsciously. "Little brother, choose me as your partner." Suddenly, a voice brought Chen Mu back to reality. He came back to his senses and found that a female adult emperor penguin was standing in front of him, looking at Chen Mu. "What's going on?" Suddenly, Chen Mu's head turned. He instantly understood what was going on. Emperor penguins are the only penguins that reproduce in winter. When winter comes, emperor penguins will walk a very long way and come to a place far away from the sea to gather for the purpose of reproduction. Except for the breeding season, emperor penguins usually stay close to the sea, ready to go to the sea to eat at any time. And the reason why he is here now is obviously because the emperor penguin group he is in is for reproduction. At this time, the voice of the system sounded. "Congratulations on your successful evolution, turn on the land evolution mode and start the task mode. Congratulations on your successful evolution, get the evolution reward, and upgrade the transformation ability. The land evolution mode will require less evolution energy. When the task mode is turned on, the system will issue tasks. Completing the task will get the evolution energy progress as a reward. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first." Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 42. After the transformation ability is upgraded, when you transform into another creature, you can transform into the largest size of the other creature, but the energy obtained by the transformed creature will not be calculated in the evolutionary energy. Hearing this, Chen Mu's eyes lit up slightly. Now, the transformation ability is powerful. After the transformation ability is upgraded, you can transform into another creature at its largest size, which means that if Chen Mu returns to the sea, he can directly transform into a giant blue whale and continue to be an invincible blue whale. Chen Mu was originally worried that if the transformation ability is still the same as before, then he will never be able to get the size of a blue whale again in his life. This upgrade means that Chen Mu is still invincible in the ocean. Of course, the creatures that Chen Mu had transformed into before all lived in the sea, and they were all weak chickens on the land in front of him. They would die if they came up. However, after the transformation ability was upgraded, it was also very good to be able to maintain the invincible status in the ocean. Although there are some side effects, after the transformation, the energy consumed by the creature will not be calculated in the progress of evolutionary energy. However, it is normal. If it can be calculated in the progress of evolutionary energy, then using a super large blue whale to eat krill directly is simply like turning on a cheat. Understandable. In addition to the ability to change, turning on the land evolution mode will result in less evolutionary energy progress, which is equivalent to a benefit. After all, the food on land is not as abundant as in the ocean. If the required evolutionary energy progress is based on the progress of the blue whale, it is estimated that there is no hope of evolving again in this life. As for the task mode, what is it? System, what is the task mode? Chen Mu asked the biological evolution system. The system answered in a mechanized voice, since it is more difficult for terrestrial organisms to obtain food than in the ocean, the task mode is turned on. You can obtain additional evolutionary energy progress by completing tasks. Another benefit. This is a good feeling. Chen Mu was a little happy. He didn't expect that this evolution would provide him with so many benefits. Before Chen Mu came back to his senses. Brother, choose me as your partner, okay, the voice from the side interrupted Chen Mu's thoughts. The Emperor Penguin was staring at Chen Mu. Isn't this nonsense? Want Chen Mu to reproduce with an Emperor Penguin? Chen Mu couldn't accept it. Chen Mu said, I'm not interested in you. The female Emperor Penguin was stunned and looked at Chen Mu. At this time, a voice sounded. Emperor Penguin mission, choose one of two. 1. You can choose to find a female Emperor Penguin to reproduce, and when the offspring grow up, you can get 50% of the evolutionary energy progress. Nonsense, Chen Mu refused directly, I will never choose this. For Chen Mu, this task is basically equal to 0, no matter how much evolutionary energy progress reward, he can't accept it. 2. You can choose to help the Emperor Penguin group you are in, help them reproduce, the more Emperor Penguin cubs survive, the more evolutionary energy progress you get. Chen Mu heard it and said, the more survived, the more evolutionary energy progress. What is the maximum? The maximum is 100%. Chen Mu's eyes lit up. So, if these cute Emperor Penguins give birth to enough children and survive at the same time, they can evolve directly. This is too comfortable, Chen Mu smiled and said, okay, I'll choose the second task. The task has been accepted and activated, the system's voice sounded. Can you choose me as your partner? I'll do it. Let me do it. The voices of a bunch of female Emperor Penguins sounded. Chen Mu came back to his senses, but found that there were actually a bunch of female Emperor Penguins in front of him, and they were looking at Chen Mu eagerly. Their eyes were full of eagerness. Chen Mu was stunned. What's going on? Emperor penguins are strictly monogamous. Mature emperor penguins will come to their birthplace every winter to reproduce. If they have been paired before, they will return to the breeding ground to find their old mate. Only when the old mate is gone will the emperor penguin look for other partners. Therefore, emperor penguins are monogamous, and a female emperor penguin will only be accompanied by a male emperor penguin. This will cause some emperor penguins to be left behind. It is not known why, but when emperor penguins reproduce, there are always more females than males. As a male emperor penguin, Chen Mu was naturally welcomed by many female emperor penguins who had not yet paired up. Seeing that Chen Mu was indifferent, the female emperor penguins began to quarrel. Go away, don't fight with me. You go away, he is mine. 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 These female emperor penguins quarreled and then fought. In order to increase the success rate of reproduction, emperor penguins will eat a lot in the sea before reproduction and store a lot of fat. So these emperor penguins in front of them all look round. When they fight, they use their wings that have degenerated and can't fly to beat each other. It looks particularly funny when they beat each other's fat bodies. Chen Mu was stunned. Is this scene considered to be extremely low in damage and extremely insulting? Can this be fought? However, it is not good to make a scene like this. We have to find a way. If I continue to stand here, these female emperor penguins will definitely not let me go. Chen Mu lay down on the cold ground and closed his eyes. The female emperor penguins stopped pushing and looked at Chen Mu lying on the ground. They were a little confused, looking at each other. One of the female emperor penguins came over and touched Chen Mu with a peck. Chen Mu acted like he was dead and went straight into the dead playing mode. With the IQ of these emperor penguins, they naturally couldn't tell whether Chen Mu was dead or not. But seeing that Chen Mu was lying still, they also realized that it was impossible to mate with the male emperor penguin in front of them. There was no other way, and the female emperor penguins who lost the chance to mate left the emperor penguin group in disgrace. Although Chen Mu was lying with his eyes closed, he still used his conscious vision to observe everything around him. He could see that the emperor penguins who had successfully paired up were doing something strange. One of the emperor penguins, a male and female, was shaking their chubby bodies. When one of them shook, the other followed suit. One of them lowered its head and pecked its feet, and the other followed suit. Both sides moved in unison. It looked like dancing. Whenever a pair of emperor penguins successfully paired up, they would move in unison, just like humans getting married, using this ritual-like way to establish a hub between them. The sound of the chubby pair looked quite interesting. After the dance, they began to reproduce. Seeing this, Chen Mu also noticed that the female emperor penguin that had been pestering him had left, so he stood up and walked aside on his own, watching the scene in front of him. Compared to using the penguin's body to catch fish and slowly accumulate evolutionary energy, it would take an unknown amount of time. Chen Mu chose to obtain evolutionary energy by completing tasks. Is there a chance of obtaining 100% evolutionary energy if the cubs born by these cute guys are guaranteed to survive? Chen Mu's eyebrows slightly relaxed. They are breeding now, and it will take some time before they lay eggs. Chen Mu can only choose to wait. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 43. All the emperor penguins have finished mating, except of course Chen Mu. The emperor penguins in front of him were all in pairs, and only Chen Mu was alone. I have to say that Chen Mu found that these emperor penguins were quite affectionate and were together almost all the time. Basically they won't be separated. You can often see two emperor penguins standing together, with their round bodies touching each other, just like human tenderness. Suddenly, Chen Mu noticed that the abdomen of one of the emperor penguins was slightly bulging. Seeing this, Chen Mu couldn't help but pay more attention. After emperor penguins lay eggs, they place the eggs on their insteps and cover them with their fat abdomen for incubation. The emperor penguin's abdomen is slightly bulging, which means it hides its eggs in the hatching pouch on its feet and under its abdomen. Could it be that the emperor penguin has laid eggs? But the other emperor penguins haven't laid eggs yet. Its mate is also looking at the emperor penguin's belly. At this time, the emperor penguin lifted its body slightly, exposing what was under its abdomen. That's a piece of ice. In order to familiarize themselves with the hatching process, emperor penguins will use something as a substitute. On top of the thick ice, it is obvious that only ice cubes are used as training materials. Over time, Chen Mu saw that the female emperor penguins began to lay eggs. Emperor penguin eggs fall on the ice one after another. After the female emperor penguin came to her senses, she carefully moved the egg with her pecks, moved the egg to her feet, and then covered it with her belly. Other female emperor penguins also started laying eggs. It's begun. Chen Mu suddenly became excited. These are the things that wait for these guys to hatch the eggs, and then wait for the group of penguin chicks to grow up, then they can evolve. What I have to do now is to ensure that these eggs can successfully grow emperor penguin chicks. What are these guys doing? Suddenly, Chen Mu noticed that the female emperor penguins took out the eggs placed on their feet and under their bellies. Saw the egg rolling down on the thick ice. Chen Mu's eyes widened. Are these guys looking for death? Aren't you afraid that the eggs will freeze? The temperature is now estimated to be -25 degrees Celsius. If the eggs are placed on the ice, they will be frozen and unable to hatch. Thinking that this egg was related to the progress of his evolutionary energy acquisition, Chen Mu suddenly became a little anxious and wished he could stuff the egg into his hatching bag. Yes, male emperor penguins also have hatching pouches. At this time, Chen Mu saw the male emperor penguin approaching the egg, his feet close to it, and then he slowly pulled the egg this way with his pecs. Pull it over its feet and cover the eggs with the hatching pouch inside its abdomen. Chen Mu saw that the eggs thrown by other female emperor penguins were put into their hatching bags by their partners, the male emperor penguins. Seeing this, Chen Mu understood. These female emperor penguins do not intend to throw away their eggs, but intend to hand them over to male emperor penguins. When female emperor penguins lay eggs, they need to expend a lot of energy. The emperor penguins who lay eggs must entrust the eggs to male emperor penguins for incubation, and he must travel to and from the coast very far away to eat and replenish energy. Of course, Chen Mu didn't know much about emperor penguins, so he naturally didn't know this. Chen Mu noticed that many female emperor penguins moved away from their partners. At this time, Chen Mu also saw that after taking 3 steps, a female emperor penguin stopped for a moment, then turned back and looked at the hatching bag of her partner behind her. It walked back slowly and looked at it carefully, as if it was afraid that the egg would be damaged. Finally, it reluctantly turned around and left. After seeing this, Chen Mu understood. Are they going to eat? If so, after laying the eggs, they really need to supplement their nutrition. Chen Mu looked at the male emperor penguins. No, from this point of view, it should be more than just nutritional supplements. All penguins have the ability to chew cud. After these female emperor penguins go to the sea to eat, they are expected to rush back to feed the emperor penguin chicks that are about to be born. In other words, if these female emperor penguins cannot come back, then, even if these emperor penguin eggs hatch successfully, the chicks will starve to death. In this case, Chen Mu would have a headache. You know, there are many seals and killer whales waiting to meet these female emperor penguins under the sea, waiting to eat. Chen Mu set off, and he followed the female emperor penguins. It is very important whether this group of female emperor penguins can survive. However, what Chen Mu didn't know was, after he left, a blizzard created by nature hits a colony of emperor penguins. In order to fight against these blizzards, the emperor penguin groups gathered together in groups, one against the other. Use each other's body heat to resist the crazy snowstorm. Those blizzards bombard the outer colonies of emperor penguins. The emperor penguins on the periphery gradually couldn't bear it anymore and changed their positions, but before changing positions, they needed to pay attention to the eggs in the hatching bags. The emperor penguins that withstood the blizzard changed their positions, so the emperor penguins on the inner layer became the new perimeter. When they couldn't bear it anymore, the new peripheral emperor penguins changed their positions again. In this way, the huge colony of emperor penguins began to move and change positions under the impact of the snowstorm. It's winter now, and once a snowstorm appears, it will rage for several days. Not everyone's emperor penguin can handle it. Some of them could not withstand the attack of the blizzard and turned into corpses, while the eggs were left without protection and lay on the ground. Under the impact of the blizzard, they were already dead. Time passed little by little. This lasted for more than a month. Chen Mu and the group of female emperor penguins came to the beach together. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wu Nian. Chapter 44. It's just too slow. The place where this group of emperor penguins lay their eggs is already far away from the shore, but these emperor penguins are still so slow. Although, Chen Mu had already seen that they also wanted to go faster, but in Chen Mu's opinion, they were still too slow. Chen Mu really wished he could turn into a blue whale and take a mouthful of krill to help transport them back to their breeding ground. But the problem is, whether it is a blue whale, a great white shark or a dolphin, it will burp as soon as it lands. The only starfish that can land ashore moves at a few centimeters per minute, which is even slower than the emperor penguins in front of us. Therefore, Chen Mu felt anxious when he saw them being slow, but he could only act anxiously and could do nothing. It took more than a month to finally arrive at the beach. Chen Mu looked at the sea in the distance. He looked back at the emperor penguins behind him who were already moving at full speed, but seemed to be moving slowly. Chen Mu withdrew his gaze and sped up to run towards the beach. Of course, Chen Mu is also an emperor penguin. Although he has the blessing of speed and can be twice as fast as an ordinary emperor penguin, in Chen Mu's opinion, it is still very slow. However, it would be fine if it could be faster than those emperor penguins. Chen Mu arrived at the sea before the emperor penguins arrived. Chen Mu looked forward and saw several seals playing in the sea not far away. Adult emperor penguins are quite small, but this does not mean that emperor penguins have no natural enemies. Leopard seals and killer whales are common natural enemies. Chen Mu has not seen a group of killer whales for the time being, but if the emperor penguins go into the sea, those killer whales with echolocation capabilities will not let the emperor penguins eat. If one of the female emperor penguins in the group behind Chen Mu dies, it means that one of the chicks will not survive to adulthood. Even if they are not dead, if their hunting speed is slow and they rush back too late, it may also cause the hatched emperor penguin chicks to die before they can return. These possibilities are related to whether Chen Mu can obtain higher evolutionary energy. Chen Mu couldn't help but pay attention. Therefore, Chen Mu has no plans to let these cute emperor penguins go into the sea now. Through his conscious vision, Chen Mu saw a light brown sea surface not far away. Chen Mu's eyes suddenly lit up. Krill swarm. This is something extremely familiar to Chen Mu. Chen Mu became excited when he saw the krill swarm. He jumped up and threw himself into the sea water. Swimming body, when farther from the shore. There were changes in his body. Wow, accompanied by a loud noise. A super large blue whale with a body length of 35 meters appeared in the ocean. This blue whale is Chen Mu. Chen Mu moved his huge body and approached the krill group. This group of krill was obviously not the krill group that Chen Mu was familiar with. According to the location provided by the blue whale's inherited memory, the krill that Chen Mu usually saw were very large and the sides could hardly be seen. Although the number of these krill in front of me is quite large, it is much inferior to the krill group found by the blue whale inherited memory. Obviously, the blue whale's memory is completely recorded for the location of the large and dense krill swarms. But these things in front of us are obviously not very dense. But even if the density is not high, for those small emperor penguins, it is enough to keep them full. As Chen Mu approached, his huge mouth opened. Use whale suck. All the krill within 100 meters in front of him roared into Chen Mu's mouth. Chen Mu, who is 35 meters long, is extremely huge. The mouth is also very large, enough to swallow all the krill within 100 meters. After swallowing, Chen Mu filtered the sea water through the baleen and kept the remaining krill in his mouth. He swam his huge body back. When Chen Mu returned to the coast, he happened to see the emperor penguins approaching, less than a few meters away. However, when the emperor penguins saw the huge blue whale showing its head, they all showed doubts and then stopped. Regarding the unknown situation before them, the animal instinct made these emperor penguins choose to take a look at the situation first. Chen Mu used his huge tongue to scoop up countless krill, then opened his mouth and swung his tongue forward. Countless krill were thrown away by the powerful force of his tongue. Forming a parabola, it falls directly on the coast. At first glance, those emperor penguins looked a little cute and confused. The tongue of a blue whale is so huge that 50 people can stand on the tongue of an adult blue whale. It is easy to pick up and throw krill. Chen Mu threw out all the remaining krill in his mouth. The coast ahead is covered in krill. Chen Mu moved his body, left, and continued swimming toward the krill group. Through the horizon of consciousness, Chen Mu could see that after the emperor penguins came to their senses, they began to peck at the krill on the coast almost frantically. Those krill that were swimming in the sea just now have become a buffet for these female emperor penguins. They don't even have to venture into the sea to enjoy this sumptuous feast of krill. And this is exactly what Chen Mu wants to see. In this way, not only do these guys not need to take risks in the sea, but they can also quickly replenish food and accumulate energy when facing predators. In this way, they can return faster and the survival rate of their cubs will be higher. Seeing this, Chen Mu was happy. Chen Mu was actually a little worried, fearing that these cute guys would not eat the krill he sent. Now it's fine. Chen Mu continued to go back and forth between the krill groups, delivering food to these emperor penguins. There were too many female adult emperor penguins. But no matter how many there were, with the help of Chen Mu's giant blue whale, they didn't even need to go to the sea to eat the food they needed. After all, there were too many krill thrown ashore by Chen Mu. All the female emperor penguins, with 0 casualties, ate and drank enough and started to rush back. Chen Mu turned back into an emperor penguin, had a good meal to fill his stomach, and then followed the emperor penguins back. In this way, the survival rate of those cubs can be much higher than before. Chen Mu walked around, looking at the group of plump female emperor penguins in front of him, and he was immediately proud. The best thing is that all the cubs survived safely to the end, so that they could obtain 100% of the evolutionary energy progress and evolve directly. After all, Chen Mu really didn't like the appearance of the emperor penguin, because the speed was too slow and very clumsy. Although it was very cute, it was only cute for the people who watched it. For Chen Mu, who was once a human, he didn't like this clumsy speed. 0 casualties, 0 casualties, 0 casualties, Chen Mu muttered. But when Chen Mu spent more than a month and returned to the breeding ground, the scene in front of him made Chen Mu a little stunned for a while. The male emperor penguins in front of him were gathering, and there were quite a few of them. But Chen Mu noticed that in the corner next to him, there were corpses of male emperor penguins covered with ice and snow. Although there were not many of them, they attracted Chen Mu's attention. Especially the eggs next to them, which were exposed in the ice and snow without anyone protecting them, attracted Chen Mu's attention even more. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 45. What's going on? Chen Mu was stunned. He was just protecting an egg, but he actually risked his life. The breeding ground of emperor penguins is located in the hinterland of the Antarctic plate. In winter, there are often blizzards. During the blizzards, the temperature can drop to -50 degrees Celsius. Even emperor penguins, which have a strong resistance to cold, can't stand it and die when facing such natural disasters. Of course, the dead emperor penguins are only a small proportion compared to the surviving emperor penguins. However, as a human, Chen Mu can't understand the behavior of creatures who don't care about their lives in order to reproduce. This may be the difference between humans and ordinary animals. Generally speaking, after the female emperor penguin lays eggs, it will give the eggs to the male emperor penguin to hatch, and it takes 4 months for it to go back to the sea to eat. And at the end of these 4 months, it will be the time for the emperor penguin eggs to hatch. Generally, emperor penguin eggs are incubated under the male emperor penguin's incubator. After hatching, even though the male emperor penguin has not eaten for 4 months, it will still leave a thick liquid called penguin milk in its body for the emperor penguin chicks to eat. This can maintain the life of the emperor penguin chicks for a few more days, and the extra few days of life are the female emperor penguins racing against life. If the time is exceeded, the emperor penguin chicks will be starved to death. However, due to Chen Mu's participation, these female emperor penguins came back many days faster. This also led to the fact that when the female emperor penguins came back, the emperor penguin eggs had not yet hatched. Chen Mu watched from the side. He looked at the female emperor penguins who came back and approached their partners. It first looked at the slightly bulging abdomen of the male emperor penguin. The male emperor penguin lifted his abdomen to reveal the egg placed on his feet. When the male emperor penguin saw the egg, it moved closer and seemed to see it more clearly. After watching, it raised its head and leaned against the male emperor penguin, slightly closing its eyes, as if enjoying the joy of reunion. However, Chen Mu also saw that some of the female emperor penguins who rushed back could no longer find their spouses and the eggs they laid. They were walking around in the emperor penguin group in confusion, with their round appearance and cute walking. Chen Mu subconsciously glanced at the emperor penguin corpses and eggs lying on the ground not far away, covered with ice and snow. Although not many people died, this is not zero casualties. It is estimated that there is no way to make the evolutionary energy progress 100%. What is going on? Isn't it just protecting an egg? It even lost its life, Chen Mu muttered. At this time, the male emperor penguin handed the egg to the female emperor penguin. The male emperor penguin, like the female emperor penguin, set out on the way back. These male emperor penguins haven't eaten for more than 3 months. Now that the female emperor penguins are back, they naturally have to switch players. It's the female emperor penguins' turn to hatch eggs, while they catch fish to eat and make up for the fat they lost in the past 3 months. Chen Mu was thinking, according to the speed of the emperor penguins, it would take nearly 2 months to reach the beach. And Chen Mu's speed is blessed by the system, which is twice as fast as the emperor penguins. It only takes him nearly a month to get to the beach. In other words, Chen Mu can let this group of cute emperor penguins go for more than 20 days, and he can catch up or even surpass these emperor penguins when he sets out. Don't leave with these emperor penguins first. I have to see what's going on here. Isn't it just protecting an egg? I can't even save my life. I planned to have 0 casualties, but it was directly shattered. Chen Mu planned to stay and observe for 20 days to see the situation. This is related to the progress of his evolutionary energy. It's just been 2 days. Suddenly, Chen Mu noticed that the sky was pitch black. A terrifying blizzard enveloped the surroundings. Chen Mu saw that the emperor penguins began to gather together, leaning against the body of the emperor penguin in front of them, one next to the other, using the group's body temperature to keep themselves warm. Chen Mu first stood outside for a while. Then, Chen Mu moved his body, approached the group of emperor penguins, and hugged the group of emperor penguins. This damn weather is too cold. Chen Mu hadn't felt so cold for a long time, but now as the blizzard whipped his body, the biting cold directly enveloped Chen Mu. Chen Mu couldn't stand it at all. It's just that Chen Mu is now on the periphery, with a warm group of emperor penguins in front of him, but the storms behind him are mercilessly whipping Chen Mu's body, and his back is very cold. Chen Mu is not a fool. After realizing this, he immediately moved, changed his position, and ran to a place without wind. Chen Mu observed the surroundings through his conscious vision while taking body temperature. He could see that the emperor penguins on the periphery, which were ravaged by the blizzard, did not leave immediately, but let the storm continue to destroy their backs. Until they could no longer bear it, the emperor penguins on the periphery began to line up in an orderly manner and began to move their bodies to the other side. At first, there was nothing strange. But suddenly, Chen Mu saw one of the emperor penguins lose his balance and fall to the ground. Because it was round, when it fell, its round belly fell to the ground first, so that the eggs laid in its abdomen would not fall out. It struggled to get up, but it was round and without hands, so it was not easy to get up in the smooth snow. It used its beak as support and tried to bend up. But it was difficult. Because its feet had to remain motionless, otherwise if the egg fell out and landed on the snow, it would not take long for the egg to die. Such restrictions made it even more difficult to get up. It was struggling and trying, and time passed little by little. And the blizzard was whipping its body. If it continued like this, it would be frozen to death by the blizzard, and the egg would not survive. Seeing this, Chen understood. No wonder so many emperor penguins and eggs died after he ran outside. So that's it? Facing this terrifying power of nature, coupled with the defects of the emperor penguin itself, it's too difficult to reproduce. Chen was a little depressed. But in order to complete his task, Chen had to get up. He moved his clumsy body and walked to the side of the emperor penguin. He subconsciously wanted to squat down and help the emperor penguin in front of him. But he was surprised to find that he couldn't do it at all, because his body was too round and he had no hands, so he couldn't help it at all. Chen used his transformation ability directly. He turned into a dolphin. He lifted his tail fin and placed it under the emperor penguin, and with a little force, lifted the emperor penguin up. The emperor penguin stood up again, and it looked at the dolphin beside it, and it was a little bit overwhelmed for a while. The dolphin disappeared, and Chen turned back into an emperor penguin again, ignoring the emperor penguin that had escaped danger, and approached the emperor penguin group on his own. "I'm freezing." Chen continued to hug the group. Although the arrival of the blizzard occasionally caused the emperor penguins to fall down and find it difficult to get up, for the sake of his own evolutionary energy progress, Chen could only help. After 3 days of raging, the blizzard finally retreated. At this time, Chen noticed the sound of the emperor penguin cubs. He noticed that the eggs hidden under the female emperor penguin had a small hole pecked out. Hatched. Slowly, one emperor penguin chick after another broke free from the eggshell, and they replaced the eggs and stayed in the hatching bag. The emperor penguin chicks were covered with fluff, so they couldn't keep warm yet, so they could only stay in their parents' hatching bags and rely on their parents' body temperature to keep warm. The chicks raised their heads and cried. At this time, the female emperor penguins opened their mouths, and the emperor penguin chicks put their mouths into the mouths of the female emperor penguins. The female emperor penguins spit out the food again through rumination, and the chicks eat the food. Looking at the emperor penguin chicks, Chen was like a miser looking at gold. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Nian. Chapter 46. As long as you protect these things, you can gain a lot of evolutionary progress after this reproduction is over. Chen was happy. The most difficult step in the growth of emperor penguins from eggs to chicks. Although the chicks are not yet able to protect themselves, it is obviously easier for emperor penguin chicks to survive than eggs that will freeze to death at any time. Now even if a blizzard comes, those emperor penguins don't need to worry about their eggs falling on the snow. This way, it will be much easier for them to get up. In other words, the main source of death for these emperor penguin chicks is food. Emperor penguin chicks after hatching. Male emperor penguins and female emperor penguins have to take turns to get food, replenish their own energy and at the same time obtain the energy needed by the emperor penguin chicks. In this process, whether it is a male emperor penguin or a female emperor penguin, if they are hunted by natural enemies, they will be killed. That means that the emperor penguin chicks will not have sufficient food sources, and as a result, they can only die. Chen naturally knew this. Therefore, when the time was almost up, Chen once again walked in the direction of emperor penguin hunting. It didn't take long to catch up with the male emperor penguins who had been walking for a while. Chen can transform into a blue whale and use its huge size to hunt on the seabed. One bite can almost meet the food needs of these emperor penguins. Chen just guarded the group of emperor penguins and helped them obtain food. Those emperor penguins take turns protecting their chicks and hunting for food. And as time goes by, the cub's appetite becomes bigger and bigger. Emperor penguin parents have to choose to go out together to find food to satisfy the appetite of their chicks. Just like that, the cubs were left behind. Another blizzard covered the place. The cubs imitated their parents, leaning against each other to keep each other warm. Chenmu was a little worried. Even the adult emperor penguins couldn't survive the snowstorm. Can these gadgets survive it? It's strange. Chenmu stood in the blizzard and looked at the blizzard. When Chenmu encountered these snowstorms before, even he couldn't bear it. But this time, although Chenmu felt cold, he didn't feel overwhelmed yet. What's going on? The temperature seems to be warmer than the previous snowstorm. Chenmu didn't know that it was already spring at this time. Although the weather here in Antarctica is still very bad, the temperature is also very low, and there are sometimes snowstorms, but compared to the beginning of winter, the temperature is obviously better now. The emperor penguin chicks, which have grown up a lot, can hold together and withstand these snowstorms. Chenmu observed them for 3 days and saw that there were no problems with the emperor penguin chicks, so he left with peace of mind. Go help collect food for the adult emperor penguins who have been gone for a while. I'm old mother, Chenmu muttered. There was no other way. In order to complete this task and obtain the highest evolutionary energy reward, Chenmu could only become an old mother. Over time, emperor penguin chicks grow bigger and bigger. Time has passed from winter to summer. Those emperor penguin chicks have grown to be as big as their parents. The down on my body started to fall off. They will shake their bodies vigorously to shake the down on their bodies. Those feathers that symbolize adult emperor penguins are starting to appear. This means that they are already adults. Chenmu, the old mother, was standing aside, watching this scene. He was very excited. Watch as these emperor penguins grow from eggs to chicks and now on the verge of adulthood. He was so excited. Because when they reach adulthood, it means that reproduction is over. This means that the mission is accomplished. Chenmu glanced at the cubs in front of him. This mission, except for the initial mistakes, resulted in the death of some emperor penguins and eggs. This is probably not a 100% progress reward. But no matter what, you have to give me 98 or 99% of the reward, right? Chenmu muttered. A voice sounded. Congratulations on completing the mission and receiving the evolutionary energy progress reward. The progress reward is 100%. Upon hearing this, Chenmu's eyes suddenly lit up. Congratulations, the evolution energy progress is 100% and you have started to evolve. Chenmu's body glowed with golden light. Golden light enveloped Chenmu's whole body. Noticing the movement here, the emperor penguins looked at Chenmu one by one. As for Chenmu, these emperor penguins all know him and are used to his existence. However, the emperor penguins are very confused. What on earth is this emperor penguin doing here without a mate or children? Chenmu looked at these emperor penguins looking at him, and he smiled. See you next time, all you cute guys. Chenmu's body flew up. Being carried by the golden light, going in one direction. Chenmu came to his senses and found himself on a river beach. He looked around and found a flock of birds near him. Chenmu looked carefully and recognized the identities of these birds. This is a bird called the emperor albatross. The imperial albatross, also known as the king albatross, is a type of albatross. Birds. Previously, Chenmu was a penguin, and penguins are also birds. Could it be that this evolution? Chenmu subconsciously opened his consciousness and looked at himself. Upon seeing it, Chenmu's eyes lit up. He raised his wings. Looking at the mature feathers on his wings, he couldn't help but smile. I feel comfortable. It's a bird. Chenmu changed from a clumsy penguin to the current seabird, an albatross. Congratulations on your successful evolution. You have obtained the evolution reward and become gigantic. Chen Mu was slightly startled. Gigantic. After using gigantism, you can temporarily double your size. The mechanical voice of the system slowly sounded. Chen Mu's eyes suddenly lit up. The image of a blue whale that doubled in size immediately came to mind. Isn't that too exaggerated? Choose one of two tasks. Task 1, pursue an emperor albatross, give birth to a child and raise it to adulthood. You will be rewarded with 50% of the evolutionary energy progress. I don't. Chen Mu would never consider this. Task 2, protect an imperial albatross cub until it reaches adulthood, and gain 50% of the evolutionary energy progress. Task 2. Chen Mu replied. Compared to the first one, Chen Mu chose the second one. And this time it's much easier. All she has to do is protect the mother of an imperial albatross cub. It's trivial. Chen Mu looked at the imperial albatross nesting on the river beach and flapped his wings. Fly into the air. He could see the emperor albatross building a nest, apparently planning to lay eggs and reproduce. After they lay the eggs and hatch them, I'll just pick a lucky one, he. Before that, Chen Mu looked towards the ocean not far away. Let's take the opportunity to eat something first, fill our stomachs, and collect some evolutionary energy. Chen Mu flapped his wings and flew into the sea, staring below, looking for fish. At this time, Chen Mu noticed a great white shark swimming on the sea. For albatrosses, great white sharks are clearly not prey. However, in Chen Mu's eyes, it was prey. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 47. Chen Mu fell from the sky and pounced on the great white shark below. The great white shark is very sensitive to electromagnetic sense, and it can know any creature approaching. It naturally knows that Chen Mu is approaching. It can judge the size of the target through electromagnetic sense. Now even if the great white shark does not look at Chen Mu, it can know that the creature falling from the sky and staring at its back is a bird. It is estimated that the great white shark is still a little confused and does not quite understand what the bird wants to do. There is a layer of fine scales on the surface of the great white shark. Because there are many and very fine scales, the touch is like sand, which makes the surface of the great white shark very, very thick. It is difficult for ordinary birds to tear the skin of the great white shark. However, when Chen Mu approached the great white shark, his body suddenly turned into a giant great white shark. A giant great white shark with a body length of 12 meters appeared in the air. Chen Mu said, "Giant." Chen Mu's huge body, which was 12 meters long, suddenly expanded as Chen Mu used gigantism. His body length increased to 24 meters. He completely turned into a great white shark of the size of an adult blue whale. Chen Mu suddenly opened his bloody mouth and bit the adult great white shark in front of him. Crack! A crisp sound. Under Chen Mu's terrifying power, the adult great white shark was bitten into 2 pieces. Boom! As Chen Mu fell into the sea, a loud noise suddenly sounded in the sea. The terrifying waves surged more than 10 meters high. Chen Mu lifted the gigantism. He remained in the state of a great white shark, holding his prey in his mouth, which was the body of the adult great white shark just now. He swam to the shore. Swim to the beach. As a great white shark, Chen Mu was naturally stranded. Chen Mu's body changed back to the appearance of the royal albatross, walked to the great white shark's body, and ate the torn great white shark's body with his mouth. Because of the limitation of his transformation ability, although Chen Mu can now transform into the largest size of the creature he has transformed into before, the energy he eats after transforming into another creature cannot be converted into evolutionary energy. Therefore, Chen Mu can only transform back into the royal albatross to eat, so that he can get some energy progress, although it is small, but better than nothing. At this time, there was movement around Chen Mu. A bird flew down from the sky, landed beside Chen Mu, and ate with Chen Mu. Chen Mu took a look at the bird and found that it was also an albatross like Chen Mu. Chen Mu didn't care. At the current speed of Chen Mu's eating, it was almost impossible to finish eating this adult great white shark. And now Chen Mu's main purpose is to complete the task and obtain evolutionary energy first. As time went on, more seabirds came. Chen Mu saw this scene. His heart moved. At present, Chen Mu still has the ability of cannibalism. If he captures some large creatures and lets his group of royal albatrosses eat them, then he can gain evolutionary energy. At the same time, he can feed the young birds of his choice while they are getting food. This is simply killing two birds with one stone. Sure, I'm too smart, Chen Mu smiled. Hi, suddenly, a voice came from the side. Hearing this voice, Chen Mu's smile faded, and he looked at the guy next to him who greeted him. It was a female royal albatross, and it was looking at Chen Mu. Chen Mu said, "What's wrong?" The female royal albatross approached Chen Mu and touched Chen Mu's beak with a peck. Chen Mu immediately took a breath and hurriedly stepped back. When the royal albatross touched the other's beak with its own beak, it was a clear indication. It wanted to reproduce with the other. Chen Mu once again felt the feeling of being pursued, but this was not the feeling he wanted. He doesn't want to breed with emperor penguins, let alone royal albatrosses. Like emperor penguins, albatrosses are monogamous. There will only be one partner in a lifetime. Although a small number of albatrosses will cheat, it is a very rare occurrence. Most albatrosses are single-minded. The longer the albatross lives, the longer they will stay with each other. Even when the spouse dies, the remaining albatross will remain a widow for him. In the bird world, the albatross's loyalty to love is very rare, so it is amazing to humans and is also known as the most loyal animal to love. Because albatrosses are monogamous, when they mate during the breeding season, they will be left alone. Obviously, the albatross left alone this time is a female. As a male, Chen Mu naturally became the object of others' attention. Chen Mu was a little confused. Should he pretend to be dead? However, the royal albatross in front of him was eating, and there were other seabirds eating nearby. If he pretended to be dead, how long would it take, and other seabirds would come and peck him a few times? What should he do? Chen Mu said, "Sorry, goodbye." He turned around and left, stretched out his wings, flapped his wings, and was about to fly. But what surprised Chen Mu was that he flapped his wings a few times, but he just couldn't fly. When the royal albatross grows up, its wingspan is 3.5 meters, which is the largest among birds. At the same time, the size of the albatross is also one of the largest among birds. Because of its huge size, the albatross cannot fly directly. If you want to fly, you need to run up. Previously, Chen Mu did not pay much attention. According to the nature of albatrosses, he habitually took off by running up. This time, Chen Mu subconsciously wanted to fly directly, which was naturally impossible. After a moment of confusion, Chen Mu realized that he was wrong according to the memory of the royal albatross. He flapped his wings and ran. With a sudden flap of his wings, his whole body flew up. Flying into the air. Soaring in the sky. This feeling is very interesting. The royal albatross is a natural gliding master. It can fly thousands of miles a day by gliding. It is considered the flying champion among birds. Chen Mu flew back to the river beach. At a glance, Chen Mu realized the location of his group of royal albatrosses is not on the mainland, but on an island. They established a habitat and built nests in the river beach of the island. The nests of these royal albatrosses are different from most birds that Chen Mu knows, which use branches and plants to weave exquisite nests. The nests of royal albatrosses are simply built into a pit on the ground. Chen Mu hovered in the air, observing these royal albatrosses. Some of these royal albatrosses touched their mates' beaks with their beaks, and they seemed very happy to touch each other. This is the royal albatross way of communication. The touch of beaks can deepen the bond between each other. Really, just lay eggs quickly and hatch them quickly. What's the point of cultivating feelings? It's a waste of time, Chen Mu muttered. But it was obvious that Chen Mu's anxiety was useless. Time passed little by little. It was night. Chen Mu was still flying in the air. Chen Mu was a little sleepy. He flew, and fell asleep directly in the air. Albatrosses are very special. They are like dolphins, and their brains can take turns to rest. As for their flight, it is entirely dependent on the power of air currents. There are updrafts in the air, and albatrosses can capture those updrafts and make use of them. They can glide very long distances without flapping their wings. They sleep while flying. Albatrosses spend most of their time at sea. When they want to rest, they can land on the sea to rest. They can drink seawater directly. For humans, seawater is salt water. Not only can it not quench thirst, but it will also make you thirstier the more you drink. If you use seawater to replenish water, the result will be dehydration and death. But albatrosses are different. Albatrosses can drink seawater directly and then excrete excess salt through the nasal tube formed above their mouths. Therefore, albatrosses do not need to worry about not having fresh water to drink. Chen Mu needs to wait for the albatrosses to lay eggs before he can continue his mission. These days, he was too lazy to think about it. Just like before, he obtained food and evolutionary energy by praying and swallowing. But, too small. Although the size of the royal albatross is considered large among birds, it is still too small in Chen Mu's opinion. With a small size, the swallowing ability is not very useful. Moreover, when it comes to the land stage, although there are special benefits that can reduce the energy progress required for evolution, even if it is reduced, it is still very slow to devour food and obtain evolutionary energy with the size of the royal albatross. Even if it is gigantic, the effect is small. According to Chen Mu's estimation, at the current devouring speed, it is estimated that it will take several years. Finally, the albatrosses in the royal albatross group where Chen Mu is located laid eggs. When the eggs fell, Chen Mu was excited. Finally laid eggs. Please select the cub you want to protect. After selecting, the task will be activated. The death of the cub will directly lead to the failure of the task, the system voice sounded. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wu Nian. Chapter 48. The system lets you pick a cub. The cubs haven't hatched yet, which means that the system is just letting you choose an egg. It's not hard to choose. It's the same anyway. Chen Mu looked at it and picked one at random, just that one. The cub has been successfully selected and the mission has been activated. Hearing this, Chen Mu smiled. He slowly landed next to the nest. Inside the nest, a female emperor albatross was incubating eggs in the nest. Seeing Chen Mu coming over, she raised her head and looked at Chen Mu. In the eyes of humans, the imperial albatross is a very cute creature. When humans approach bird nests, many birds will attack or become frightened and defecate. When humans approach the nest of the imperial albatross will only look at the humans curiously and not pay attention at all. Not to mention, the current Chen Mu is still an emperor albatross, one of its kind. Naturally, it just looked at it out of curiosity and stopped paying attention. Chen Mu walked around and watched. From now on, I have to protect this thing. When it reaches adulthood, I can get 50% of the evolutionary energy progress, Chen Mu muttered. The emperor albatross, unlike the emperor penguin, probably won't. How difficult will it be? Emperor penguins need to breed in winter and have to face extremely bad weather, but the emperor albatross is different. It does not need to face the kind of bad weather that will take it and its children to meet God. The only thing Chen Mu has to worry about now is whether the two mothers of the imperial albatross cubs who are out looking for food will encounter any accidents. You know, the upbringing of an albatross cub is inseparable from its parents. Albatross raising children requires two albatross to cooperate with each other and take turns taking care of and going out to find food. If one of the two albatross dies, the baby will basically not survive. In that case, I'd better bring the food here so that they don't have to go outside to look for food. This will be better, Chen Mu thought as he walked around, planning to find a suitable take-off ramp. Crash! Suddenly, Chen Mu heard the sound coming from the sound. What's the sound? Chen Mu looked back subconsciously. An albatross was found to have landed where Chen Mu was just now, and it touched the albatross in the nest chosen by Chen Mu intimately with its beak. The two albatross seemed very active. Is your spouse back? Chen Mu didn't think much and looked away. Suddenly, Chen Mu's pupils condensed slightly. Wait a minute. He felt something awkward and wrong. Chen Mu turned around suddenly and looked at the couple behind him. That's wrong. Chen Mu was surprised to find that the imperial albatross that just flew back was a female. And the royal albatross incubating eggs in the nest is also female? Scientists have observed that many animals have homosexual tendencies. The albatross is one of them. Sometimes, the mate of a female albatrosses may not be a male. Two female albatrosses can also form a pair. During the breeding season, the two female albatrosses will go to other male albatrosses to mate. After mating, they simply ignore the male albatross and return to their same-sex partner to build a nest and reproduce. This is simply using those male albatrosses as tools. Generally, one of the two female albatross will lay an egg, and then the two female albatross will raise the offspring together, but sometimes, both female albatross will lay eggs, and one of the female albatross will lay her eggs outside, and the eggs laid outside will abandoned, leaving only one egg to be raised. It is not yet known how these female albatrosses choose between two eggs. Although Chen Mu was puzzled, he saw that the two female albatrosses were so close to each other, and then looked at the eggs that were already hatching. Chen Mu has selected this cub, the mission has started, and there is no failure prompt. In other words, it is a normal egg. Chen Mu looked away and muttered, "Your circle is really chaotic." However, chaos returns to chaos, and it has nothing to do with you anyway. Chen Mu was too lazy to pay attention. As long as the egg can reach adulthood and help him complete his mission, Chen Mu has no intention of taking care of the rest. Regardless of whether it is a female with a female, or a male with a male. Chen Mu walked to a ramp. It walked up the ramp, then turned back, spread out its wingspan, which was more than 3 meters long, flapped its wings, and started running. With the help of the updraft, it flew directly up. Fly into the air. Chen Mu used the airflow to glide. Fly towards the sea. Fly above the sea. Chen Mu looked down, looking below, looking for food. Albatross's eyesight was pretty good, but obviously, no matter how good it was, it couldn't be as good as Chen Mu's vision of consciousness. Chen Mu opened his consciousness, looked down from a high position, and looked for his own food. Chen Mu saw a school of sardines swimming in the sea. Sardines are too small. Chen Mu was not interested. Suddenly, Chen Mu also saw a group of swordfish chasing sardines. It looks like the swordfish are hunting. Seeing these swordfish, Chen Mu's eyes lit up slightly. This is it. Chen Mu pounced on the swordfish from top to bottom. The moment he got closer, Chen Mu's body transformed into a giant great white shark with a body length of 13 meters. He bit one of the largest sailfishes in one bite. Bang! When Chen Mu entered the sea, a splash of water appeared on the sea surface. Along with the splash, blood gushed out. Chen Mu twisted his body violently and forcibly bit the sailfish, which was more than 2 meters long, into 2 halves. After it was done, Chen Mu's body changed back to the posture of the royal albatross. He flapped his wings, ran on the sea surface, and flew into the air. Giant. As a royal albatross, Chen Mu's body size doubled in an instant. The body length of an adult royal albatross is more than 1 meter, and the wingspan is more than 3 meters. Chen Mu noticed that after he evolved into a terrestrial animal, he was different from the ocean. When he evolved into a marine creature before, his body size started from a cub, but now it is directly from an adult. Chen Mu's body length was 1.5 meters and his wingspan was 3.5 meters. When Chen Mu used gigantism, his body size doubled to a shocking 3 meters, and his wingspan was 7 meters. Chen Mu flew down again, raised his claws, and grabbed the body of the marlin floating on the sea. The marlin was originally 2 meters long and very heavy. Even if it was enlarged, it was difficult to catch it, so Chen Mu used the bite force of the great white shark to split it in half at first, leaving only 1 meter in length. Chen Mu grabbed one half and flew towards the habitat. Arrived at the habitat, Chen Mu placed the marlin next to the nest. The two female albatrosses were still together. When they saw Chen Mu's actions, they all looked at Chen Mu, each with a puzzled look. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wunian. Chapter 49. After putting the food down, Chen Mu lifted his gigantism and returned to his normal size. Watching Chen Mu's body shrink, the two female albatrosses were a little confused, tilting their heads to look at this scene. With their intelligence, they naturally couldn't understand what was going on. With the intelligence of this albatross, if Chen Mu were a human, it would be difficult to let them know that his food was for them. However, Chen Mu, who is also an albatross, can communicate in the way albatrosses communicate. Chen Mu said, "This food is for you to eat." With that, Chen Mu left on his own. The two female albatrosses looked at each other, and then looked at Chen Mu's back. They seemed to be a little confused. Chen Mu didn't care whether they were confused or not. The food was thrown in their faces. No matter how stupid they were, they knew to eat. Sure enough, not long after, Chen Mu saw the albatross next to him that was not hatching started to eat. When it is full, it will go over to hatch and let another albatross come to eat. Chen Mu, who was flying in the sky, saw this scene through his conscious vision, and now he was completely relieved. He was still a little worried that these stupid albatrosses would not eat the food he sent. As long as they eat, it will be easy. Chen Mu continued to fly to the sea and hunt. For Chen Mu now, the creatures in the sea are basically his buffet. No marine creature can defeat Chen Mu now. Any marine creature can only be food in Chen Mu's eyes. The problem is whether Chen Mu eats it or not. Chen Mu hunts in the sea and sends food to the two albatrosses. Of course, with Chen Mu's hunting speed, there is naturally too much food. When there is too much food, Chen Mu gives the food to other royal albatrosses. Because Chen Mu is in the same group as those royal albatrosses, because of the relationship of racial co-eating, the food eaten by these royal albatrosses will also allow Chen Mu to gain evolutionary energy. Although it is little, it is better than nothing. Nearly 2 months have passed. Just as Chen Mu expected, the reproduction process of the royal albatross is not as deadly as that of the emperor penguin, at least it is not deadly when hatching eggs. That day, Chen Mu spread his wings and hovered in the air. Through his conscious vision, he could see a fluffy royal albatross cub under the female albatross. Because the egg had been hidden under the body of the royal albatross, Chen Mu did not see it hatching. Of course, Chen Mu was not interested. After all, the hatching of birds is not much different from the hatching of chicks. There is nothing to see. The royal albatross cub raised its head and chirped. The adult female royal albatross lowered her head, bent her head, and opened her mouth. The royal albatross cub put its mouth into the mouth of the royal albatross and ate the food regurgitated by the royal albatross. These foods are basically digested fat and semi-digested food. Because of Chen Mu's presence, the two royal albatrosses didn't need to do much. They just needed to go to the place where Chen Mu dropped the food, swallow the food, and then regurgitate it to the royal albatross cubs. Seeing the birth of the cubs, Chen Mu's mouth curled up. It seems that it is not very difficult. Compared with the deadly reproduction process of emperor penguins, the reproduction process of the royal albatross is relatively simple. Chen Mu continued to forage for food. After using the giantization, Chen Mu grabbed the food with his claws and looked at the habitat getting closer and closer. It seems that I have to be a male mother again. Forget it, it doesn't matter, just give me the progress of evolution. As time passed, day after day passed. The royal albatross cubs grew up day by day. With Chen Mu's protection, the two mothers of the cubs were very comfortable. However, these were okay at the beginning, but after a long time, these adult albatrosses didn't seem to like staying in one place. They would leave for a while. Later, they would occasionally leave their nests and cubs for a while. But this gave Chen Mu a headache. These guys are really careless. If it weren't for the mission, I would have sprinkled cumin on it. But for the mission, Chen Mu could only be a male mother again. He stood on a high slope not far away, observing the nest through his conscious vision, and also observing the surroundings, worrying that something would come out from somewhere and attack the cub in the nest. This situation has happened several times before, of course it's nothing. There are many royal albatrosses nearby. Even if the two mothers of the cubs go out to fool around, other royal albatrosses will not let other animals into their habitats. With the size of those adult royal albatrosses, ordinary animals really dare not provoke it easily, so the cub has never been in any danger. But, Chen Mu subconsciously raised his head and looked at the sky. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and the wind in the air gradually became stronger. It's going to storm, Chen Mu muttered. For adult royal albatrosses, no matter how strong the storm is, it doesn't matter. They can fly in the storm without any problem. But Chen Mu was a little worried about the cub in the nest. It was related to his evolutionary energy progress. 50 points, how long would it take to accumulate? If it died, all the efforts during this period would be in vain. At this time, heavy rain fell. The wind also increased. The cub in the nest was blown by the wind and couldn't stand steadily. Chen Mu watched from the side. It seemed that there was no danger for the time being, so he was too lazy to intervene. Suddenly, the cub's body rolled out of the nest and fell to the ground because of the strong wind. Ah, ah! The cub cried. Seeing this, Chen Mu frowned in the distance. At present, although the cub fell out of the nest, it was not in danger. Chen Mu saw through his consciousness that one of the cub's mothers was rushing back. Seeing this, Chen Mu muttered, "Do you still know how to come back?" Since the mother came back, Chen Mu was too lazy to take action. This storm did not last long and soon stopped. But the sky was still dark. Chen Mu saw through his consciousness that the female albatross was approaching. The female albatross finally arrived. It flew into the nest and looked at the empty nest. It seemed a little confused because it didn't see the child in the nest. After it was done being confused, it sat down on its own, sitting on the nest. Ah! The cub outside the nest saw its mother, its fur all wet from the rain. It stood with its small round body, looked up at its mother, then opened its mouth and made a cry, asking for help from its mother. Although the nest was built directly on the river beach, it was also at a certain height. The cub was too small, and it was not easy to climb into the nest. But the female albatross didn't know what was going on. It seemed to have not heard or seen the cub next to the nest, and just sat there. It was as if the cub next to it had nothing to do with it. This scene made Chen Mu stunned. Was the female albatross an idiot? Become a sea squirt larva and eat a brain first. Author, Chen Wu Nian. Chapter 50. Chen Mu flapped his wings and flew up. Flying to the female albatross, he looked at the albatross cub under the nest, which was looking at its mother pitifully. The cub was trying hard to get close to the nest and climb up. He called for help from his mother, but the male albatross ignored him, as if he didn't hear or see him. It was incredible. Chen Mu looked at the female albatross. The female albatross looked at Chen Mu, a little confused and curious. It recognized Chen Mu, the albatross that brought it food every day. "You are here, are you here to bring food again today?" said the female albatross. Upon hearing this, Chen Mu's mouth twitched, and he said, "Why don't you look at your child? Don't you want the child?" The female albatross was stunned, and she said, "My child, I'm also very surprised. When I left, my child was still in the nest, but now it's gone." "Ah," Chen Mu was stunned, "what are you talking about? Your child is outside the nest, isn't that your child?" As he said, Chen Mu looked at the albatross cub next to him who was still trying to climb into the nest. Chen Mu was simply puzzled. When this albatross was gliding outside, its brain was caught in the gap of the mountain. Didn't it have a broken brain? Didn't you see this? The female albatross heard it, and it looked at the albatross cub that was babbling under the nest. It looked puzzled, and then looked at Chen Mu. "What are you talking about? It's not my child." Chen Mu was completely numb. Chen Mu said, "I can guarantee that it is your child." He stared at this guy for such a long time. Could it be that he didn't know whether this was the child of the albatross in front of him? The albatross said, "No, it is not. My child is in the nest. The one in the nest is my child. It is outside the nest, it is not." Chen Mu was silent. Sure enough, this guy is simply like the Queen Mother asking for menstrual leave, a psychopath. If it is not in its nest, it is not its child? What kind of logic is this? At this time, there was a wind. Another female albatross flew down from the sky and landed next to the nest. This female albatross is the other mother of the cub, and it also came back. When it came back, it first looked at its partner, and then touched it with its beak. The two first fed Chen Mu a wave of dog food, or should I say, bird food. Of course, Chen Mu doesn't eat dog food, let alone bird food, so he interrupted the spell and said, "You're back too, just in time." The albatross that had just returned looked at Chen Mu. Chen Mu said, "Tell me, is it your child?" Chen Mu looked at the albatross cub that was still working hard to move into the nest. When the albatross that had just returned heard it, it looked at the cub, then looked at Chen Mu. "No, my child is in the nest." Chen Mu was completely numb. "Dear, I want to tell you something, our child is missing." The albatross that could only stay in the nest stood up, revealing the empty nest. The albatross that had just returned was stunned, as if it could not recover. Looking at the two albatrosses with lost expressions. Chen Mu's mouth twitched. What the hell is this thing? At this time, the albatross cub that was trying hard, used up all its strength, and finally climbed to the edge of the nest, and rolled into the nest. "I'm back. The child is back." When the royal albatross in the nest saw this scene, its eyes lit up slightly, and there was joy on its face. It slowly squatted down, covered the child, and touched the cub's beak affectionately with its beak, looking very intimate. The royal albatross next to it saw this and happily came over. Chen Mu was stunned when he saw this scene. What's going on? Many birds can recognize their own cubs. If the cubs leave the nest, they will go crazy and look for them frantically. But the albatross is different. The albatross will not be too anxious if the child is missing. Moreover, the albatross recognizes the cubs according to the nest. That is to say, as long as the cubs leave the nest, then in the eyes of the albatross, the cubs that leave the nest are not its children. It has nothing to do with it. Only when the cubs are in the nest, they are its cubs, and it will take care of them. This is a very special way to recognize cubs. And this method also brings problems. That is to say, if humans take the cubs away and have a barbecue in front of the albatross. The albatross may even think that the barbecue is very fragrant. Chen Mujuan, I was shocked by the way the royal albatross recognized its cubs. Chen Mu was too lazy to think about it. This group of albatrosses is really amazing. Chen Mu left on his own, returned to the ramp, ran, flapped his wings, and flew up, soaring with the wind. For Chen Mu, he just wanted to accumulate evolutionary energy as quickly as possible. And accumulating evolutionary energy naturally cannot rely entirely on tasks. So, during this period of time, Chen Mu transformed into a giant albatross through gigantism and devoured food on the other side of the sea, while feeding the pair of same-sex stupid birds so that they had food to feed their children. In this way, he devoured and completed tasks at the same time, taking a two-pronged approach. Of course, the task has not been completed yet, and Chen Mu has been devouring for 4 months. System: how much evolutionary energy progress do I have now? The current progress of evolutionary energy is 5%. Hearing this, Chen Mu had a headache. He turned into a blue whale and swallowed the krill back, threw it on the shore, and let the albatross eat it, or let the albatross swallow it with its swallowing ability. It can be said that it was very fast. But even so, it took a full 4 months, and it was only 5%. In other words, if you want to get 100%, it will take 80 months, which is more than 6 years. Fortunately, there are tasks to do, otherwise, 80 months, tisk tisk tisk. Chen Mu was too lazy to think about it, and now he would just continue to swallow. Getting 50% of the evolutionary energy progress, plus completing the task, it will be 100%. This can save half of the time, which is great for Chen Mu. Chen Mu flew to the sea and saw the schools of sailfish below. He smiled, "Old friends, we meet again. For my evolution, I can only trouble you again." As he said, Chen Mu's body fell from the sky and pounced on the sailfish. Use swallowing energy as soon as you get close. The sailfish didn't know what happened. They only saw that as the albatross approached, their companions disappeared. A group of sailfish disappeared. The progress of evolutionary energy increased by less than 1%. Although it's small, it will add up to a lot. I wonder what I will become next time I evolve.